People chase money, but few understand how it really works. Getting rich isn't about luck, it's about thinking differently. Today, I'm not giving you recycled advice. I'm giving you what they never tell you, the rules behind the rules. These are the 10 truths that break the system. Ignore them and stay average. Use them and you change the game. Most people grow up being told that hard work is the key to success. They're taught to trade time for money, go to school, get a job, show up every day, work harder than the next person, and eventually wealth will follow. But in reality, that's a broken model. If hard work alone created wealth, construction workers and miners would be billionaires. The truth is, money doesn't reward effort. It rewards impact, scale, and leverage. And that's what nobody tells you. Leverage is the force that multiplies your outcome without multiplying your input. It's the difference between digging a hole with your hands versus using a machine. In finance, it's the difference between earning $20 an hour versus earning a percentage of a business's entire revenue. Rich people don't just work, they find tools that make their effort exponential. And the most dangerous part, schools don't teach this. They train you to be efficient at tasks that can be automated, outsourced, or eventually replaced by AI. There are different types of leverage. The old form of leverage was labor, hiring people. You pay someone to work for you and you make a margin on their output, but that's messy, limited, and hard to scale. Then came capital. If you had money, you could invest it and earn returns, but this was mostly accessible to the already wealthy. Now, in the digital age, 2 new types of leverage have emerged: code and content. These don't require permission. Anyone with a laptop and internet can use them. Code lets you build things that run while you sleep. Content lets you reach millions of people without ever stepping outside. Both scale infinitely, and both can be started with near zero cost. That's how a 19-year-old can build an app that makes more money than a company with 500 employees. That's how a YouTuber with a mic in his bedroom earns more than a TV anchor. That's how creators, coders, and entrepreneurs who understand leverage become rich without working 100 hours a week in a cubicle. They don't just work harder, they work smarter with leverage. The rich don't talk about this because it's not in their interest to hand out the blueprint. They want employees, not competitors. They want you believing that loyalty and overtime are what get you ahead. But behind closed doors, every billionaire obsesses over leverage. Elon Musk doesn't build cars, he builds systems that build cars. Jeff Bezos doesn't ship packages, he builds networks that ship for him. That's the secret, and here's where most people get stuck. They don't own the results of their effort. They sell their time, but they don't get a piece of what they help build. If you're a software engineer building a $100 million app, and you're getting paid $80,000 a year, you're being leveraged, not leveraging. Ownership is key. If you don't own equity, intellectual property, or a scalable asset, you're just a cog in someone else's machine. To use leverage, you must build or buy things that separate your time from your income. You have to stop thinking in hours and start thinking in impact units. Ask yourself, if I do this once, how many times can it pay me back? Writing a book, building an app, launching a course, licensing an idea, these are all examples of leveraged activities. You create once and you earn forever. The internet changed the game. You can now reach one person or 100 million with the same click. That's pure leverage. One video, one idea, one tool. And if it resonates, if it delivers value, it scales without asking for more hours from you. That's what the old system fears. Because once you grasp this, you become ungovernable by the traditional rules. But leverage also requires risk, not blind risk, but intelligent bets. You need to develop rare skills, understand systems, build things people need, and be okay with initial failure. You need to think like a hacker, like an engineer, like an investor. You need to train your brain to ask, how can I multiply this result without multiplying the effort? You have to stop asking how to do more and start asking how to do it once and let it repeat automatically. And the best part, you don't need permission, no gatekeepers, no resume, no title, just insight, creativity, and execution. The new game is open source, borderless, and fast. Either you build leverage or you get used by it. Talent is overrated. People love the idea of being naturally gifted, of being born with some extraordinary ability that guarantees success. But in the real world, obsession beats talent every single time. Not because talent doesn't matter, but because obsession turns ordinary people into world-class performers, while talent without obsession often dies out early. The difference between those who make it and those who almost do is not intelligence, connections, or even timing. It's the intensity of their obsession, the kind that keeps them up at night, that drives them to push beyond boredom, distraction, and failure. Obsession creates focus, and focus creates momentum. It's the fuel that powers insane levels of consistency. The world is filled with talented people who never got anywhere because they were casual about their goals. They worked when it was convenient. They chased multiple things at once. They were easily distracted by trends, likes, and short-term rewards. Obsession doesn't let that happen. Obsession forces you to say no to 99% of things so you can go all in on the one that matters. It makes you study deeper, practice longer, think harder, and get back up when most would stay down. People mistake passion for obsession. Passion is emotional. It comes and goes. Obsession is structural. It builds your life around the goal. It doesn't care if it's hard. It doesn't need constant motivation. Obsession means even when you're tired, even when you fail, even when it's not fun, you keep going because the goal is burned into your identity. You're not doing it for applause or approval. You're doing it because you have to. It's not optional. That level of drive terrifies average people. It makes them uncomfortable because it exposes how casual they are with their dreams. Obsession gives you an unfair advantage. When you're obsessed, you're not just learning faster, you're living what you're learning. You're consuming books, podcasts, interviews, tools, and frameworks, not to look smart, but to solve real problems faster than anyone else. You're iterating at a level that the talented but lazy person can't keep up with. You're treating feedback like oxygen and failure like a compass. You're so locked in that you don't need external validation. You're addicted to the progress, not the praise. That kind of intensity compounds. It might not show in the first week or even the first year, but over time, obsession outpaces talent by a mile. The obsessed person builds skills that compound. They master systems. They find patterns. They build networks. They attract attention and resources just by showing up every single day with the same level of energy and hunger. They become magnetic, not because of natural charm, but because people are drawn to that level of dedication. Every successful entrepreneur, creator, or innovator has this in common. Elon Musk isn't building rockets because he's slightly interested in space. He's obsessed with interplanetary life. That obsession makes him sleep in the factory, read thousands of technical documents, and fire people who don't share his level of intensity. Steve Jobs wasn't casually interested in design, he was maniacally obsessed with perfection. Kobe Bryant didn't become great by being more talented, he became great by treating every practice like a championship game. This pattern is everywhere. The world is built by people who were unreasonable with their goals. Obsession also trains resilience, because the truth is, the path to wealth is hard. It's full of dead ends, setbacks, and doubts. If you're not obsessed, you'll quit, you'll settle, you'll find a comfortable job and call it good enough. But if you're obsessed, you'll keep going even when it looks like it's not working. You'll pivot, learn, rebuild, and come back sharper. The obsessed don't fear failure, they use it. Every hit becomes data. Every loss becomes an edge. They absorb pain like reps in the gym. The dangerous part is that society rewards comfort. It tells you to chase balance, to avoid burnout, to not take things too seriously. But greatness doesn't come from balance. It comes from temporary imbalance, from seasons of obsession where you go all in. Learn faster than everyone around you, and build something nobody else has the patience for. That's how you separate. That's how you become irreplaceable. While others are trying to look talented, you're becoming undeniable. The irony is, once obsession delivers results, people start calling you talented. They don't see the grind, the repetition, the isolation. They don't see the thousands of hours you spent mastering the craft. They just see the outcome. They label it talent because it's easier to explain than obsession. But deep down, you know it wasn't a gift, it was war. You didn't wake up brilliant, you forced it. You earned every skill, every insight, every inch of progress through relentless focus and sacrifice. Most people spend their entire lives trying to solve small problems: how to make a bit more money, how to get a promotion, how to save a little extra at the end of the month. They play it safe, think locally, and aim for predictable outcomes. But the wealthy, the truly wealthy, operate on a different level. They don't waste their time solving small problems. They look for billion-dollar problems and ask, how can I fix that? Because big money always follows big problems. And when you solve something massive, you don't need to beg for success, it finds you. Solving big problems changes everything. It shifts your thinking from scarcity to scale. You stop asking how you can earn more per hour and start asking how you can impact more people per hour. You start to see that the richest people in the world didn't make their money selling average solutions to average people. They became rich by changing industries, disrupting systems, and fixing what everyone else ignored or thought was impossible. Elon Musk didn't become the richest man by building a better car. He tried to eliminate fossil fuels. Jeff Bezos didn't try to open another bookstore. He redefined commerce. The reason most people never get rich is because they aim too low. They seek certainty. They don't want to fail, so they never stretch. But the irony is that trying to solve small problems actually increases your risk, because small problems are crowded. Everyone's solving them. That's why competition is brutal. That's why salaries are capped. That's why promotions are rare. You're stuck in a crowded lane. But when you attack a billion-dollar problem, one that affects millions or even billions of people, suddenly, the risk starts working in your favor. There's more room to innovate, more upside, more reward for even partial success. Billion-dollar problems don't mean you need billions to start. In fact, most great solutions began as small ideas that scaled. Airbnb started with an air mattress. Uber started with a couple of cars in San Francisco. WhatsApp started as a simple messaging app. What made them valuable wasn't where they began, it was what they solved. Each one tackled a huge friction point in the way people lived, moved, or communicated. And each one had founders who weren't afraid to think absurdly big. That's the mindset you need. Not more credentials, not more permission, just bigger thinking and the courage to take the first step. You have to train your brain to look for pain points, not just around you, but around the world. What frustrates people, what wastes their time, money, or energy, what's broken, slow, inefficient, or outdated. These are clues. Every time someone says there should be a better way, that's your signal, and the bigger the pain, the more people it affects, the more money is on the other side. Think about healthcare, education, energy, housing, transportation, communication. The biggest fortunes have been made by people who looked at something broken and decided not to accept it. But solving big problems requires patience. It's not overnight. It's not glamorous in the beginning. You might get laughed at. People might say your idea is crazy or too ambitious. That's normal. Most people only believe in big ideas after they work. Visionaries believe before the world does. That's your edge. If you're waiting for validation, you're already too late. You have to act before the consensus forms, when the risk is still high, but the rewards are still massive. That's where the real wealth is created, in the early, messy, uncertain stage of solving something real. Big problems also attract big talent. When you're working on something meaningful, something massive, you naturally draw people who want to be part of that mission. Investors want in, talented people want to help, customers become evangelists. That kind of momentum doesn't happen when you're building something ordinary, but when you're solving something that matters, the world leans in. It wants you to win because your success becomes a win for everyone, and don't think you need to invent something entirely new. Sometimes, solving $1 billion problem just means improving what already exists, making it simpler, faster, cheaper, or more accessible. Tesla didn't invent the electric car, they made it desirable. Zoom didn't invent video calls, they made them frictionless. Spotify didn't invent music streaming, they made it intuitive. Innovation doesn't always mean invention. It means seeing what others ignore, caring more than they do, and executing better than they can. So the question becomes, are you spending your time solving tiny problems that pay tiny returns? Or are you chasing the kind of problems that, when solved, could change your life and millions of others' lives at the same time? Because money flows where value is created, and the biggest value always comes from fixing the biggest pain. Most people spend their entire careers trading time for money. They work hard, show up on time, meet deadlines, and hope that raises or promotions will one day lead to wealth. But that path almost never creates real freedom. It keeps you locked into a cycle where your income is directly tied to how many hours you work. The rich figured out something different. They don't just trade time. They trade ownership. The key isn't to work more, it's to own more. If you want to get rich, you can't just settle for a salary. You need equity. Equity is what gives you a stake in the upside. It means you don't just get paid for your input, you get rewarded for the growth, the success, the impact of the entire thing. When you own part of the business, product, brand, or idea, your earnings are no longer limited by hours or effort. You start to benefit from scale. That's how wealth is created. While employees chase paychecks, owners build assets that increase in value even when they're asleep. It's not about working harder. It's about building something that works for you. Every major success story is built on this principle. Steve Jobs didn't take a salary from Apple for years, but he owned shares that made him a billionaire. Elon Musk doesn't cash in a paycheck from Tesla or SpaceX. In the way a regular CEO would, his wealth comes from owning a massive portion of his companies. Jeff Bezos became the richest man in the world, not because of how much Amazon paid him, but because of how much Amazon he owned. The formula is simple: own equity in something valuable and let it grow. But most people never even think this way. They're trained to look for security. They want benefits, predictable income, and low risk. But safety is expensive. It costs you upside. The system is designed to keep you working for someone else's vision, someone else's wealth. The people at the top offer salaries to avoid sharing the real value, equity, because once you have ownership, you're no longer just an employee. You're a partner, a stakeholder, a threat to the old hierarchy. You don't need to start $1 billion company tomorrow, but you do need to shift your mindset. Start thinking like an owner in every opportunity. If you're working at a startup, negotiate for equity. If you're a freelancer, build your own brand instead of only working under others. If you're in a company, ask how you can move into profit-sharing roles. If you're building something, a course, a newsletter, a tool, make sure it's something you control, something that can scale, something you own. Even small ownership can lead to massive results. 1% of something huge is still life-changing. That's the beauty of equity. It compounds in ways salaries never can. You put in the work once, and the value can keep increasing long after you're done. Salaries stop when you stop. equity keeps going. It's a multiplier of effort, not just a payment for effort. Ownership also changes how you think. When you own something, you care more, you look at the long term, you build for sustainability, not just quick wins. You think about branding, culture, customer experience, margins, growth. You stop thinking like a cog and start thinking like a creator. That's when your ideas get sharper, your strategies get bolder. Your standards go up, because now it's your game, and this mindset isn't limited to startups or tech companies. Musicians who own their masters earn decades of royalties. Authors who self-publish keep more revenue and retain creative control. Athletes now start their own brands and negotiate equity deals instead of just endorsement checks. Creators on platforms like YouTube and Substack build loyal audiences and monetize directly, not through middlemen. Ownership is spreading across industries, and those who adopt it early build leverage that others can't compete with. The system has shifted. Access to tools, platforms, capital, and distribution has never been more available. You don't need to be born into wealth or go to Ivy League schools to own a piece of something valuable. What you need is the mindset to stop renting your time and start building your stake. Ask different questions. Instead of how much does it pay, ask what do I own? Instead of how many hours, ask how scalable is this? Instead of what's the job title, ask what's the upside? Because at the end of the day, you don't get rich by being paid well. You get rich by building something that grows without you and pays you long after you're gone. ChatGPT said, the fastest way to become rich isn't by doing everything yourself. It's by building with people who are playing long-term games with long-term visions. Most people surround themselves with short-term thinkers, people who are chasing quick wins, instant validation, and next month rewards. They jump from trend to trend, hustle hard for a few months, then burn out or pivot. But the people who build real wealth are those who understand the power of compounding, not just in money, but in relationships, reputation, and trust. They choose to build with others who are in it for the marathon, not the sprint. Long-term players think differently. They don't look for shortcuts, they look for systems. They're not obsessed with virality, they're focused on durability. When you align with people like this, you gain something more valuable than money: trust equity. This is the unspoken asset that allows you to move faster, take bigger risks, and build more aggressively because you know the people around you won't vanish at the first sign of trouble. You're not constantly renegotiating, re-explaining, or watching your back. You're aligned on values, direction, and time horizon. Most people underestimate just how important the people around them are. If you're trying to play long-term games with people who think in short-term sprints, you'll always be misaligned. You'll be talking about building a brand while they're chasing a viral post. You'll be trying to reinvest profits while they're spending everything they make. You'll be thinking 5 years ahead while they're planning for the weekend. That tension will slow you down, drain your energy, and dilute your vision. Wealth demands clarity, and clarity requires alignment. The wealthiest people in the world almost always built their empires with the same small circle over decades. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, Steve Jobs and Jony Ive, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, Elon Musk and his core engineering teams, these relationships weren't just functional, they were foundational. They were built on deep trust, complementary strengths, and shared ambition. When you find people like that, you protect them at all costs. You don't compete with them, you collaborate, build, and grow together. Playing long-term games also gives you the freedom to do things the right way, not the fast way. You don't have to chase every trend. You can focus on building real value, knowing that you're not going to disappear tomorrow. That kind of stability is rare, and it's exactly why it creates wealth, because it lets you make decisions that compound. You can invest in brand, in product, in people, not because you need immediate ROI, but because you know that over time it pays off massively. It also builds a kind of reputation that money can't buy. When you're known as someone who plays the long game, who doesn't cut corners, who keeps their word, who sticks around, people start to trust you with bigger opportunities. Investors take you seriously, customers stay loyal, partners refer you, you stop competing on price and start competing on principle. And when your name becomes synonymous with quality, consistency, and integrity, doors open that others don't even know exist. Long-term thinking forces discipline. You stop chasing dopamine hits from small wins and start building toward legacy-level outcomes. You develop patience, strategy, and resilience. You learn how to deal with setbacks without giving up. You start seeing problems as part of the process, not signs of failure, because when the horizon is long enough, temporary losses don't scare you, they inform you. They make you sharper, stronger, more committed. It also means being okay with delayed gratification. The people who get rich quick often lose it just as fast because they never built the muscle of patience. But those who play long-term games are willing to go through the silent years, the ones where nobody notices. The growth is slow and the results aren't flashy because they understand that compounding takes time. Whether it's building an audience, mastering a skill, developing a product, or growing a business, the exponential results only come after years of linear effort. And long-term games are never just about money. They're about purpose, about solving problems that actually matter, about building something that outlives you. The money is a byproduct of value created over time. When you shift your focus from how fast can I win to how long can I build something meaningful, everything changes. Your decisions improve, your network strengthens, your vision deepens. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. That's when you stop playing someone else's game and start creating your own. ChatGPT said, "In the race to wealth, the one who learns the fastest wins, not the smartest, not the most experienced, not the one with the best degree or the strongest network. The one who learns faster than everyone else becomes dangerous." Because in a world that changes rapidly, speed of learning becomes your biggest edge. Most people stop learning after school. They slow down, settle into routines, and coast. But the rich never stop learning. They treat learning as a weapon, a daily discipline that compounds over time. They understand that what you know today will be outdated tomorrow unless you constantly upgrade your mental software. Fast learners are not born, they are built. They train themselves to absorb new ideas quickly, to adapt to new tools, to identify patterns, to connect dots others can't see. They know how to break things down, test assumptions, and apply what they learn immediately. They don't just collect knowledge, they convert it into action. And in doing so, they move faster than others who are still stuck asking for permission, waiting for someone to teach them, or looking for perfect answers. Learning fast doesn't mean memorizing more. It means learning the right things, the things that actually move you forward. The ability to filter signal from noise is one of the most underrated skills in wealth building. The world is full of content, opinions, advice, distractions, and noise. If you don't know how to prioritize learning that creates leverage, you'll drown in information that keeps you busy but broke. Fast learners know what to ignore. They chase high-impact knowledge, how systems work, how money flows, how psychology drives behavior, how technology is evolving. They study business models, decision-making frameworks, negotiation, influence, scalability. They master what matters. Speed of learning also depends on speed of failure. Fast learners don't fear mistakes, they use them. Every failure becomes a day, a point. They move, test, observe, adjust, and repeat. While others wait to feel ready, they get their hands dirty. That's how they build experience at a rapid pace. Experience is not about time spent, it's about cycles completed. If you're failing and improving faster, you're learning more in 1 year than most learn in 5. That feedback loop creates compound growth, not just in knowledge, but in execution. The richest people aren't the ones with all the answers, they're the ones with the fastest feedback loops. They try, fail, learn, improve, and scale. They don't waste time pretending to be experts. They stay humble, curious, and focused. They hire people smarter than them. They ask better questions. They listen more than they talk. And they treat every conversation, book, podcast, product, or problem as a chance to level up. This mindset of constant improvement separates them from those who just consume information passively and hope something sticks. Learning fast also means unlearning fast. Most people are weighed down by old beliefs that no longer serve them. They learned rules that worked in a different era: work hard, get a good job, save money, and they hold on to them even when the world has changed. Fast learners are willing to delete old ideas and upgrade their thinking. They stay flexible. They don't fall in love with methods, they fall in love with results. If something better comes along, they switch. No ego, no attachment, just optimization. And learning is no longer limited by access. The internet has destroyed the barriers. Everything is available: books, courses, mentors, communities, case studies, code, strategies. The only thing that separates learners from non-learners now is discipline and focus. The rich treat their learning like training. They schedule it, track it, and apply it. They don't scroll mindlessly for inspiration. They study intentionally for transformation. That's why their ideas evolve, their execution sharpens, and their results multiply. This also affects who they learn from. Fast learners don't take advice from just anyone. They filter by results. They study people who have done what they want to do. They reverse engineer success. They invest in mentors, masterminds, environments that stretch their thinking. They avoid groupthink. They don't let social media trends set their learning path. They design their own curriculum based on where they want to go and what skills they need to get there. And the biggest advantage of learning fast is that it creates more opportunities. When you're skilled, adaptive, and knowledgeable, people want to work with you. They trust your decisions. They invite you into rooms where deals happen. They see you as a resource, not a risk. And when you can learn anything quickly, you become resilient. Industries can collapse, trends can fade, technologies can change, and you'll still thrive. Because you can adapt faster than the environment can break you. You become future-proof, and in a world that never stops evolving, that's one of the most valuable assets you can have. Ask ChatGPT.